Like you sound like
100%
Ben Shapiro sitting in the audience shaking his head so everyone knows he disagrees. Like I just don't understand. How do you watch a movie this silly?
Your only
and
defense.
come away with
Wait,
the idea
you can't say that. You cannot say that to me. Your only defense to me. You've made zero logical defense. You just said
zero logical defense.
You have. You just said, Sitch, it's a comedy. Shrug, shrug. You're not supposed to take it seriously. And I say, wait a minute. How am I not supposed to take it seriously when boom, 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 boom? And you just say,
And I give you a bunch of reasons that are counter with.
Tell us why you're
Sitch,
such a Barbie
I don't understand.
Doomer,
like,
go on.
You would think that just randomly Sitch would be right about one movie, just one time. One time he would have a good take. You would see a piece of media and comprehend the most basic facts about what's going on and just understand the simplest mechanics. Oh my God. Well, I can't believe you subjected me to that. Like, how do you mess up the mechanics or not the mechanics, metaphysics of Barbie Land? Like every single thing. I have an entire fucking page of notes.
Doomer, you're not going to go on camera. We want to get this rage soy fest for everyone to see.
We're not. No, I'm not going on camera.
Why?
The last time I did,
I'm on camera.
I fucking control F my name in your fucking comment section, and it's just people calling me fat. Okay, so no, I'm not gonna fucking go on camera and fucking turn on my lights. Okay, and fucking figure out how to make my hair not look terrible.
Chat, you have to promise us you're not gonna fat shame Doomer. Okay,
look,
come on, chat.
But that's.
Look, I want ones in the chat. I want a commitment from chat that you're not going to fat shame Doomer.
Me and chat have a ceasefire right now because chat actually, for once in their lives, chat has the good sense to see through the nonsense that Sitch is spouting.
Okay, tell me.
Chat understands.
One equals no fat shaming. Come on.
Stop. Okay, stop. He's not shut up on camera.
Okay, so to explain that, I have to say something else really quickly. And Adam basically said this. Of course, obviously, Adam is the base correct person in the conversation. Didn't quite go far enough, but pretty much Adam was pretty close to this, okay? So, Sitch, you're taking the movie way too fucking seriously. You sound like someone watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail being like, I don't think sparrows can carry those coconuts. Why do they have coconuts? How could the fucking horse move around so quickly? That's literally what you sound like. Like, why are you taking everything so seriously?
That's a retarded thing to say. That's a really retarded thing.
It is basically a Monty Python movie. No,
Adam it's not.
Said, it's the level of Zoolander. Yes, it is.
No, it's
Every single element of the film is so silly and over the top and absurd.
Oh my God.
It absolutely
so stupid.
It's clear every single fucking point of the movie. Everything about it is so silly and absurd. Why does it open on a 2001 thing? Why, when they leave Barbie Land, is there just a fucking bunch of people building a wall straight up for no fucking reason? Why are there fucking product shots when they throw stuff out of the window? The answer to every single thing about why the movie is so weird is because it is a silly comedy.
Let me ask you a
question. It's basically like a Monty Python skit.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, so in Monty Python, have you seen Thor: Love and Thunder?
No.
Okay.
I don't watch Cape shit.
That's fine. In Monty Python, do you think it'd been really weird if in the middle of the movie there was a non-comedic scene where someone's child dies and it's played like completely straight? You're like, what the fuck? And then it just goes back to being a wacky comedy, right?
Okay, but so hold on.
You understand?
We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Do you think that would be weird?
We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Okay, let's back up.
We're not.
We are. I'll get there. Give me. Yes, it would be weird to happen. Give me about 3 seconds. Okay, a lot of this stuff, again. The fact that you think that there's like a discrete metaphysics that the movie is violated indicates to me that you're just taking this like way too seriously. It does not establish clear rules of Barbie Land. There isn't a one-to-one correspondence. That's not what the weird Barbie said. And the movie obviously breaks its own rules constantly. Just like you were talking, like all these things that you take as signs of the movie, like being incompetent and accidentally like against itself. Those are clues that the movie is just a silly satire that is not taking itself seriously. There's so many times throughout the movie that it's contradicting itself. It's contradicting its own like rules of world building. It's contradicting its own themes because it's a silly comedy. It's not taking itself seriously. Hold on.
All the flaws are intentional. It's all intentional.
Sitch, men are speaking. Okay. Now,
Barbie, the Allens are speaking right now.
Okay. The one part of the movie that actually is serious. There are a couple of points that actually are serious and aren't silly, where they actually sit down to talk about stuff. They're not talking about fucking patriarchy. They're talking about women's issues like insecurity and how hard it is to be a woman. And it is. Like the sincere moments are not talking about the fucking.
You think when the mother went off on her whole speech about this is why it's so hard to be a woman in a man's world. That's supposed to be serious, right? We're supposed to take that fucking dumb speech seriously.
That's not
America,
what's her name? America Ferrera.
Yeah, America Ferrera. Doomer loved that speech. Doomer thought it was an ode to modern feminism.
Supposed to be taken seriously.
That speech was overbearing, and it was supposed to be taken seriously.
Okay, well, that's the problem. This is the problem. Is that you're like, well, it's a joke. It's like, wait a minute. Like her overbearing woke speech was literally the key tool to defeat the Kens in the movie. So you can't have it both ways.
Again, Sitch, I don't understand how you can say that Ken goes to the real world, discovers the patriarchy because he falls in love with horses, gets books on the patriarchy from a high school, fails to get a job, goes back to fucking Barbie land and establishes the patriarchy and implants false consciousness in the Barbies. How do you say that and not just laugh your ass off?
He literally did that.
It's so yes, because it's a satire. It's supposed to be silly.
This is like retarded. Just because a movie does something. Wait, you've seen the movie Brazil, right?
I actually have not.
Doomer, this would be a lot better with you waving your arms around.
The movie.
I have to apologize.
The movie Brazil.
You can farm me a little bit, okay? You can't fully farm me for content.
The movie Brazil is about people living in a dystopian society where the government controls everything to the point that bureaucracy is so overbearing that when a person needs their air conditioning fixed, like they have to go through some insanely bureaucratic process to get their air conditioning fixed. It will take so long that Robert De Niro shows up, and he is literally a rogue air conditioning repair guy who swings on a grappling hook down from like the fucking sky. He's like, I'm a rogue air conditioning repair guy. You don't have to wait in time for lines. And he fixes the main character's AC. And by doing this action, it creates like the police are now after him because he's like a secret Robin Hood air conditioning repair guy. Okay. It's a silly scene, but it's supposed to be saying something about society. It has a grander theme about the world that the character's living in. You can't just say, well, because Robert De Niro trying to be a rogue AC repair guy is silly, the whole thing is silly, and we can't read any message into what's happening.
That's a great point, Sitch.
The reason that we're not going to read the message that you're reading into it, well, first of all, because we're not Nazis, but beyond that, because the movie says so many things that are very blatantly against the message that you're putting forward. The scene in the movie that is the most woke is literally put in the fucking mouth of a high school bully. It is so blatantly not meant to be taken seriously. The fucking scene where Barbie walks up and the fucking little girl is like laying into her and being a fucking bitch and fucking calls her a fascist.
What point in the movie was she shown to be wrong, that little girl?
Wait, what do you mean? You think the movie takes the wait. You think the movie takes the position that that's accurate?
Yes.
Yes.
It does.
What? How?
What point in the movie?
In the very end of the movie
show the girl either changed and realized she was wrong, or that the girl is fucking an idiot and wrong.
Her last line of the movie is about cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Wait, who is Barbie's?
No, the daughter.
The daughter.
What was her last line?
Her last line in the movie is when Barbie's in the car going to the gynecologist. The father, who we've only seen briefly, who's like studying Spanish or something, he says something to her in Spanish, to Barbie, about like good luck. And the daughter says, Dad, that's cultural appropriation.
And she's
that's like
not
literally
kidding.
Her last line in the fucking movie.
That seems like such a joke to me. I'm sorry. I can't take that seriously. You think that's supposed to be serious?
No,
yes.
It's a joke. Here's why I'm confused. You can have something be a joke, but it still means something, right? You understand that?
Okay,
it's important. It's important what it means to the character, obviously.
When Dave Chappelle tells his jokes about trans people, right? You don't get to just throw your hands up there and say, he's just joking. It doesn't mean anything. No, it means something. The jokes mean something.
No, but meaning is taken in the totality of context.
Yes.
The problem with the idea that the movie is taking this as a position is that there's so much in the movie that goes against that. And there's so much in the movie that wait, what do you mean? Like what? Like you're just talking about the Ken patriarchy thing. Simultaneously, we live in a patriarchy, but Ken can't get a fucking job. Like it contradicts itself within the same scene.
Yeah, but why would you have the character? That's what
happens in silly comedies.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is where, like, if the movie was structured so that Ken thinks we live in a patriarchy, he reads a bunch of patriarchy books, he tries to get a job, and he has a conversation with the guy, and the guy's like, I can't give you a job. You don't have any degrees. And then Ken's like, fuck, I thought we lived in a patriarchy. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? And then Ken walks away. Dan would be like, oh. And then he tries to go get a job with the doctor, and the doctor's a woman, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he walks away. But the fact that the guy says,
he couldn't even get a job.
We do live in a patriarchy, we're just better at hiding at it, completely confuses the issue.
It does.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's confused. It's not remotely clear. If the movie was trying to put forward a serious political position, it would be so much more clear than it actually is. There's so many things in the movie that just either seem to be satirizing the position that you think it's putting forward or seem to be going directly against it. And again, the broader context of the film seems to be going as far as it possibly could out of its way to be unserious.
I think if you had the movie kind of structured the same way, where Ken brings the patriarchy back to Barbie Land, but then the resolution to it is not America Ferrera giving her "it's hard to be a woman" speech, which is literally speaking truth to power, is defeating the patriarchal conditioning. Like, it's done in a funny way, but that's literally what we're witnessing on screen. If instead of that, it was the mother giving a speech or something about how this isn't like real, and like in order for society to function, men and women need to be able to get along and get together and, you know, forget all this bullshit about the patriarchy and all this stuff. And it ended with the Barbies and Kens reaching some sort of equal joint conclusion. I could possibly agree with what you're saying, but that didn't happen.
Well, okay, again, you're proposing a movie that's taking these political themes way more seriously than I think the movie is taking them.
I don't think you could shove overt political themes in a movie to this extent. Maybe you could give me an example of it.
Okay,
I'm hard-pressed to think of another movie.
They reestablish a matriarchy by tricking the Kens into having a dance contest.
Yes. It's a comedy.
And you're taking this seriously.
The themes of a comedy can
do you think serious. Do you think the filmmakers think that a matriarchy is a good thing?
I don't know what they think.
Really?
Really? I don't know what they think. Judging from this movie.
If you had to guess, okay. What's most likely?
I don't know. I would say that they probably... Well, here's the thing. I don't know if the filmmakers believe in feminist conflict theory or they're just idiot liberal feminists that don't understand what they're advocating for. I don't know what the answer to the question is. But you acknowledge that a comedy can have a theme and a message in it, right?
Sitch, you are a streamer, and Greta Gerwig just opened 150 million, okay? Show the woman some respect. First of all, movie's fantastic. Sorry, what were you saying?
You acknowledge that a comedy movie can have themes and important messages about life in the comedy and done in a comedy context, right?
Yes, but like one of the foundational, like the way that you look at things like this, like if there's a character that's giving off a particular message and there's nothing there to counteract it, then usually it will either be taken that the movie is trying to portray that message or that the movie was clumsy in its messaging. One of the two. But if you have two diametrically opposed characters and neither of them are straightforwardly presented as being correct, it is never assumed that the movie is taking the position that one of the two is correct. Like, if you have a sexist character and a character who is against sexism, it's, you know, that there's no inherent idea that like one of those characters necessarily has to be correct unless the movie is taking a side. And that thing is, I don't think the movie is taking a side nearly as much as other people do, at least on the patriarchy stuff.
It is, and I'll tell you why it is taking them seriously. If they want to do what you're suggesting, there wouldn't be this overt sexism in the real world. That wouldn't happen. What would happen would be Ken would be treated like a normal person. He would perceive it as completely bizarre because he's so used to being a second-class citizen. He would then interpret it as the patriarchy. Then he would bring the patriarchy back. The fact that they clearly established the real world as being stemmed in sexism shows you that that's what they believe is true.
The real world being so absurdly over the top that it's even more extreme than things were in the 70s is a clue that the real world is not meant to portray the real world exactly as it is.
But it's only in this one aspect.
No, it's keeping the same. No, it's in every aspect, every single element. Like one of the comments I wrote down 5 minutes into the movie is, how long can this be sustained? And the answer is the whole movie. It is that silly, that ridiculous, that over the top the whole time, including the tone, the silly tone of the film, just how absurd and over the top and satirical it is.
You acknowledge
it's like that. This is what Adam said too. All the like, you're assuming that the real world segments are supposed to be like we're stepping into a Martin Scorsese film or something. That's not true. It's supposed to be just as over the top. That's why every single person on the board is a man. It's not because it's a serious statement. No, because like you said, that's not true. That the movie, it's founded by a woman. Like their board is half women.
You don't think that the movie is trying to create a clear delineation between the Barbie world and the real world? You think that they're both supposed to be equally goofy?
No, I think that the real world is supposed to be goofy. The film is overall goofy.
No, that's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you.
Wait, okay. What exactly did you say?
I said, do you not acknowledge that the Barbie world is supposed to be significantly more goofy and fantastical than the real world? Or do you think it's equal? There's supposed to be equal levels of goofiness.
There's a difference, but the real world is still far goofier than the real world actually is. But, and again, there's a thematic reason for this that we can talk about the ending really quick if you want. But you seem to have missed a huge chunk of the most obvious messaging.
Well, before we get into that, but this is important, okay? And this is what I think you're missing. In the real world, if we remove the Mattel shit from it, the Mattel building, which I think is its own thing, which we talked about, the only element in the real world that's portrayed as goofy is the sexism. Nothing else is goofy in the real world. Everything else is just completely normal.
They walk in. What do you mean? Ken gets obsessed with the patriarchy. Everything is all the sexism shit's over the top. They walk into a high school and the fucking high school girl is going fucking crazy. Like Adam said, the car chase.
That's normal. What do you mean? You don't think a high school girl is going to be a total bitch to someone? That's a completely normal thing.
No, this is what a movie would look like if it's trying to be silly and satirical and over the top. There isn't a single scene in this film that is even close within a fucking galaxy of being a traditional drama. Not even in the same universe.
I've never said it was a traditional drama.
It's not supposed to be realistic at all. It is very blatantly over the top.
Oh, so when the mother is sitting there and she's sketching thoughts of thinking about death, Barbie, is that supposed to be satirical?
Yes.
Okay, I don't even know what conversation we're having. You think that that's supposed to be funny, that the mother's having an existential crisis and that she can't get along with her daughter? Is that part of the comedy? And then the fact that her daughter acknowledges that she has these depressing thoughts is supposed to be what binds them together now?
The concept of drawing thoughts of death Barbie is obviously a joke and everyone laughed. I'm confused that you're asking the question.
You're not understanding what I'm asking. Yes, the concept that she would literally make a thoughts of death Barbie, the drawing is funny, but then it's not played for laughs. It's played because then it's this is how she thinks. She's basically taking her own existential crisis and putting it into the drawings. The whole thing is played very seriously.
Every single time you watch a comedy show, they get up there and the first thing they talk about is Hitler or death. Comedy is trying to find levity in the fucking problems of the real world.
When Margot Robbie is and sitting on the park bench and she's looking at everyone and she starts crying because she's experiencing life. Is that supposed to be funny? Is that supposed to be a wacky part of the real world?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, if you're talking about
I don't know what the fuck
yes, it absolutely is supposed to be funny.
You think it's funny when Margot Robbie's sitting?
The Barbie goes to the real world, gets called a fascist, and is walking over and crying on a park bench because
no. I didn't say that. When Margot Robbie's sitting on the park bench and she's watching people play with their children, and she's watching a guy who's depressed, and she's just seeing all these different aspects of the real world and how people have different emotions and not everything's so shallow in her world. And then she looks over and she sees an old lady who she's probably never even fucking seen before in her entire life because everyone is young in the Barbie world. And she's like, "You're beautiful." None of that is for fucking laughs. That's all serious.
No. Okay, that scene is serious, but again, it relates to a theme that you seem to have largely missed. No, that's not a comedic scene, but there's nothing wrong. That scene's not woke.
I know it's not woke, but I'm not talking about whether it's woke. I'm talking about that the movie's making a clear delineation between the Barbie world being fantastical and the real world is supposed to be a realistic representation of the real world.
I completely disagree.
That's what they literally call it, the real world.
You can find scenes where it's not as playing it up as much, but no, the real world is not supposed to represent the real world. Absolutely not.
They just call it the real world and they just put it in contrast to the Barbie world, but it's not supposed to represent the real world.
Sitch, I hate to break it to you, but sometimes in comedy movies they say things and they're not meant to be taken literally.
Okay, so what is the point? This is what you're suggesting is retarded as to why they would structure the movie this way.
What? No, it's not, because you keep operating under the assumption this is supposed to be some postmodern feminist fucking dissertation about the fucking patriarchy.
What is the point of putting all of that?
It's a silly, entertaining movie.
Okay,
to sell tickets and make people laugh.
If I'm sitting here as a fucking writer and I'm I need to make a silly, entertaining movie about Barbie for children, why the fuck would you ever be let me put in this very convoluted, complicated, third wave, intersectional, feminist, overt political message in it. Oh, but am I actually serious? I don't know. Shrug. Why would anyone do this?
Because it was funny.
You can make a funny movie without making overt political statements about feminism and the patriarchy.
Yeah, you could have, but she chose this, and she chose wisely because the movie fucking rules.
I think you're way off here. I think you're so
okay.
far off.
I think it's funny, by the way, that Adam is like, Doomer just likes this movie to be a contrarian, as though like everyone doesn't love this movie, including most of chat. Like,
no,
it's fucking awesome.
I think you have engaged in some kind of hypercope here. Okay.
Hypercope.
That's several levels beyond a cope spiral, Sitch.
You're looking at
I didn't think that was possible.
You're looking
he's trying to avoid paying royalties to me for using the term cope spiral.
There you go. So. You're looking at the hypercope spiral. You're looking at all the super insanely overt woke shit that was in this movie. You're looking at it and you're saying, oh, they didn't mean for you to take it seriously, despite the fact that XYZ, despite the fact that literally the wokest speech in the movie is the thing that solves the conflict in the movie. And yet I'm not supposed to take any of the woke stuff seriously. To me is fucking insane and detached from reality and understanding film whatsoever and storytelling.
Okay.
Do you think that the thing that even you yourself acknowledge is the wokest part of the movie is the thing that solves the conflict in the movie, and yet we're not supposed to take the woke elements seriously?
I don't know, Sitch. I think we need to dock Zoolander some points because male models, they aren't that stupid.
Explain that to me. Explain how that works. Exactly.
Explain what? It's like, again, okay.
You acknowledge that the feminist speech about it's hard for a woman to live in a man's world is the wokest, most overt woke part of the movie. That speech, the literal speaking truth to power speech, is the tool that solves the conflict of the movie. What does that tell us about the message of the movie?
Well, it doesn't completely solve the conflict of the movie, to be fair. Not to split hairs, but that allows them to trick the Kens into a dancing contest, which solves the conflict of the movie.
Well, no, it solves the Barbies waking up from the patriarchy. Okay,
it cures them of their false consciousness.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but this is why. I don't understand why you're like, this isn't real.
They literally, so funny.
They literally have the Barbies get into the false consciousness of the patriarchy, and then they give speech
how are you saying this and not laughing?
Wait,
I don't understand. How do you recount this? How do you say this and not laugh?
Stop. They give the Barbies are in the world of false consciousness. Okay, they didn't give some like fake funny speech to wake the Barbies up, right? So it's a parody of feminism. They gave a real speech that you, the audience, are supposed to agree with. That completely contradicts this theory that it's all just a joke.
Okay. I'm not saying that the movie is supposed to be explicitly like pro or anti woke. I'm saying that the idea of patriarchy in the film is an idea that they're playing with. It's not something that like it's not being taken seriously. Like it's something that the movie is playing with to make jokes. And it's doing that very well.
I don't even agree at all. There's never a part the others, as you said, you know, where's the conflicting thing? Where's the pro-patriarchy, the explicitly pro-patriarchy, or this explicitly there is no patriarchy stance is never given in this movie?
Well, what do you mean? Like even in that one scene, the scene with the most explicit pro-patriarchy message also has an anti-pat. Fucking Ken can't even get a job as a lifeguard.
Yeah.
I mean, like if men are supposed to run the world,
because it's the real world. It's supposed to be the real world.
Oh my God. Okay, anyway, what you seem to have not like picked up on with the ending is that the whole thing, like Barbie is basically a surrogate for children. The movie is like a coming of age thing, very explicitly. No, okay, just sit down and listen. Okay, learn something. Okay, in the beginning of the film, Barbie is in the state of being a child. She's ignorant. She doesn't know anything about the real world. She just lives in this idyllic world, basically in her head, and there's no conflict and everything is fine until this is shattered by existential dread, thoughts of death, and cellulite.
Right.
The only way this could be more on the nose is if she had her period. These are like the troubles that people have when they're entering adulthood. Okay, and then the end of the film has a mother talking to a child surrogate, explaining the pains of being a human, both the joys and the sadness that Barbie has been struggling with the whole movie. She got all fucked up. That's why this happened, is because she's able to restore the matriarchy, but that doesn't make her feel any better. She still has these problems. She still has this existential, fears and fear of death and stuff, and she still feels all fucked up. So a mother figure, literally the mother of Barbie, comes and talks to her and explains the fucking beauty of being a human along with the cost. And then she has to make a Pinocchio-like choice to accept humanity. How is that not the most obvious shit in the fucking world?
That is obvious.
It's about growing
I never said that wasn't part of the movie.
The beauty of the world and choosing to be a part of it, even though it has fucking problems.
I never said that wasn't part of the movie. I just didn't bring it up because it wasn't relevant to what I was talking about. God. Obviously, that's a central part of the movie. What I brought up was the fact that I don't like that essentially the feminist aspect is, as I said, 50-year-old women shoving their fears into their daughters as their daughters are growing up.
The movie is not fear-mongering. Like you sound like Ben Shapiro sitting in the audience shaking his head so everyone knows he disagrees. Like I just don't understand. How do you watch a movie this silly?
Your only defense, you can't say that. You cannot say that to me. Your only defense to me, you've made zero logical defense. You just said
zero logical defense.
You just said, Sitch, it's a comedy, shrug, shrug. You're not supposed to take it seriously. And I say, wait a minute. How am I not supposed to take it seriously when boom, 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 boom? And you just say,
and I gave you a bunch of reasons that are counter within the
No, you didn't. You said
film.
Ken isn't able to get a job. And I said, well, it's supposed to be the real world. No, the real world's supposed to be as goofy as the fantasy world. If the real world's supposed to be as goofy as the fantasy world, why is the real world only goofy in one hyper-specific way about sexism? And it's completely realistic in all other aspects.
He's got a point there.
It's not completely realistic in all other aspects. It's realistic in like a couple scenes.
Where is it not realistic in the real world?
Over the top.
Okay, if you remove the sexism,
in Mattel headquarters.
As I said, the Mattel shit was like its own fucking bizarre thing. Okay. That made no sense with the rest of the context of the real. There's no like when they're in jail.
It's weird.
Here's how I would agree with you.
Bizarre thing that doesn't make sense in the
Here's
real
how
world.
I would agree with you.
Man, that's weird.
Wait, if they're in like the police station and that weird scene, like with Mattel was in the police station and they escaped from the police station, I'm like, okay, this is just completely fucking goofy, right? But when the movie contrasts the real world and it talks about all the things that you just talked about, like it doesn't, what you just fucking said about the theme of the movie doesn't even fucking make sense if the real world is not supposed to be portrayed as realistic. If it's supposed to be going from one fantasy world to one fantasy world, then it's not about a child growing up and learning about death and all these other things. Then it's just, what the fuck are we talking about? That entire theme about getting older, growing up, and realizing mortality and all this shit and growing older only makes sense if you're transitioning from a fucking fantasy world to a real world, motherfucker! Get stuff!
It's your take on this movie is
get so dunked. No, explain that, bitch.
Explain wrecked. I've explained it to you over and over
you
again.
Didn't.
I don't understand what you're not getting.
Wait a minute.
You're saying,
I made a very specific point.
One to the real world. Lay down.
I just annihilated your argument from orbit.
Lay down 75% of the fucking scenes in the real world that are obviously not realistic. Oh, what about this one scene when they're in the park? Okay, she's sitting in the park and she looks over at the woman. Okay, and she's like, "Oh, you're so beautiful." See, it's supposed to be the real world. No, it's not. What about the other 75% of the fucking scenes? What about everything that happens in the real world? The fucking Mattel headquarters with everything, with the fucking school, with fucking Ryan Gosling, with literally any other scene. You're focused on this one fucking scene and ignoring every other goddamn thing in the fucking movie. It's crazy.
Explain to me. Oh, so, okay, unless you're going to say that it's just bad filmmaking, which maybe you could say that. If you're going to try to make a theme about a child going from the fantasy of a child to like the realities of adult, shouldn't that be shown in contrast with the fantasy Barbie world going to the realistic real world? Wouldn't that match that metaphor you're trying to go for?
I don't even understand there is a contrast.
You know what I mean.
Wait. The fact that there is a contrast, first of all, there's obviously a contrast. They're obviously not the same thing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the real world is literally the real world to be taken seriously.
Okay.
It is so obviously not to be taken seriously.
So
and I will cite basically every other scene.
Doomer, let's get your position clear here. You're saying, and I kind of made this argument as well, that the over-the-top sexism in the real world is just a joke, and that we're not supposed to take that seriously. We're supposed to perceive that the real world is like the actual real world, and this sexism doesn't really exist. Or Sitch's position seems to be saying that while they are jokes about sexism, the writers of the movie and the movie itself is supposed to be saying that this kind of sexism does exist in the real world, even though we're laughing about it.
Okay, the movie is probably taking the position that there is some level of patriarchy and some level of problems, but it's exaggerating it over the top to a factor of 100.
Yeah, but that's not the question.
To use it as a fodder for humor.
That's not the question.
The problem is if it's only over exaggerated in one very specific avenue. To me, that shows something. They're trying to say something about
everything
society.
in the movie is exaggerated. Almost
in the real
everything.
world, the sexism is the thing that they chose to over exaggerate.
I mean,
yes. What would
everything,
be if
every topic? Every
if they
topic
exaggerated misandry in any way in the real world, that would be evidence of kind of what you're saying.
Well, they did exaggerate misandry.
Well, I mean, they have the doctor, but it's not. The doctor is very much a very
misandry in Barbie Land.
Yeah, but not in the real world. We're talking about the real world.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's present in the film.
And not only that, I'm not really sure that the jokes in, like, we perceive the jokes in Barbie Land as misandry. I don't think the target audience or the writers perceive what's going on in Barbie Land as misandry. Like the final scene,
there ain't no way.
The final scene where they let the Kens have some, leftover hand-me-down jobs and think that that's fair. I think, obviously, Sitch and I perceive that as misandry. I don't think the writers or the general public that this audience is targeted at perceives it that way.
There's no one in the audience stupid enough to not see that it's misandry.
Oh, well, let me ask you a question.
There's no way that Greta Gerwig or Margot Robbie or Noah Baumbach or anyone thinks that the ending of the film is just straightforwardly justified and not misandrist. There is no way.
No, they're supposed to. I think the end of the film is supposed to be like the mirroring of women getting rights in our world. That was the joke. Like, oh, you don't just get to be equal now. You have to start still at the bottom and then slowly work your way up. Right? That's what they were trying to I mean, the narrator literally said that when that scene happens. Right?
I mean, but like, that's true.
Yeah, but well, first of all, it's a bad application because there's a difference between, again, how the real world works and how a fantasy Barbie world works.
Yeah, right? It doesn't need to be exact 1-to-1. It is a silly, stupid movie. I don't know what to tell you.
Because movies. Okay, we acknowledge you've seen the first Into the Spider-Verse. Have you seen the first Into the Spider-Verse?
No, I don't watch Cape shit.
You haven't seen anything good. Okay,
don't fucking sit here and talk to me about. You haven't seen the thing with the guy in the spider suit? No.
The first Into the Spider-Verse is really good because for 90% of the movie, Miles Morales is a completely incompetent Spider-Man. That's what makes him endearing. He just sucks. He completely sucks ass at being Spider-Man. Okay? And then at like the last tiny bit of the movie, when he finally, gains confidence in himself, he becomes Spider-Man and becomes hyper competent and he can go be an awesome Spider-Man, right? We all know that in the real world, that's not how anything works, right? But we accept that idea of fiction. We accept that in fiction, there are hyper-compressed ideas that tell us morals and teach us things about society. This is very common in all stories. Otherwise, if the stories focused on how things work in the real world, it would be super boring and every movie would be way too long, right? So when you have the Barbie movie end, it should be ending on sort of this idealized, this is the way in which something should function. This is the way something should work. And instead, to turn it into a joke where you say, well, the Barbies basically get control of everything over again, and the Kens, will kind of work their way up over the next 60 years, to me, is a kind of a huge fuck up in terms of what the movie is trying to tell us.
Okay, again, you keep assuming what the movie is trying to tell us, and I keep telling you that the movie is not trying to tell you that. So again, you keep telling me, here's how the movie should be structured. Here's how the characters should behave to accomplish a certain message. And I disagree with everything. I disagree with the message you think it's trying to send, and I completely disagree with the prescriptive nature of you telling the movie how it's supposed to be structured. So for example, you're talking about how it's bullshit that Barbie doesn't solve the problems. Barbie is supposed to be a child surrogate. It makes perfect sense that Barbie doesn't solve any of the problems and that she just gets frustrated and sits on the ground and stares at the fucking ground. That's really funny. There's no structural issue there. again, you think the movie is trying to be something that it's not. That like the Barbie character is supposed to be this incredibly empowering thing of like, Barbie's just gonna, waltz across
I don't think
the
it's
world.
empowering. I just think that's how main characters generally work in stories that makes them interesting. They're the ones driving the story.
One of the reasons this movie is so fucking awesome is because it's not like every other movie. It's a genuine experiment. Like, it's an experimental piece of filmmaking. It's doing so many things that
this is a little weak.
Doing them all poorly, but.
Doomer, every good movie, and you're calling this a good movie, is a debate over a point of view. Do you think this movie is a fair debate over the point of view of sexism from?
I don't think it's a debate over sexism.
Okay.
And Adam, legitimately, I am shocked that you don't think this is an experimental piece of filmmaking. That is shocking to me.
What do you mean by experimental?
Dude,
almost every element of the film is doing something weird and completely atypical for a Hollywood film. Almost every single component of this is so far from what I would have expected it to be.
It doesn't feel experimental to me.
Yeah, really, this feels more like Your Highness type movie to me. I love Your Highness, but I don't see it as some sort of experimental Inception type movie. So
Inception.
Not Inception,
why would Inception be the example of an experimental film?
Well, I'm just saying, a movie that tackles an idea completely in a different.
More experimental. Memento would be experimental. I don't really see what's experimental about this.
Inception had the whole.
You compare it to comedies.
Look, Inception had the whole original idea of implanting ideas into people.
You were comparing this to the Monty Python, the Holy Grail.
Yeah, I compare it to other comedies because it's a comedy.
But I'm saying that's far more.
Compare this to a Judd Apatow movie. Compare this to Knocked Up, and you'll see why I think it's experimental. It does all kinds of things that are incredibly fucking weird. I mean, there's so many different.
But Monty Python's much more detached from reality. I wouldn't call it experimental.
You wouldn't call Holy Grail experimental?
No.
What?
No.
Yeah,
it's one of the most atypical comedies I think I've ever seen.
Straight up wacky comedy.
Well, where was it in the relation to like all the airplane movies and everything? Was it like the first one to do any? I mean, if it was the first one to do any of that like weird stuff, then I guess it would be. But I don't know if that's the case.
I think it was before Airplane. I mean, I could check.
So maybe Monty Python would be experimental if it was the first one to do like this completely like, the movie ends because the police show up. Like maybe nothing had ever been done before.
It's not just that. I mean, pretty much everything about the structure of the film is fucking weird, and they include like random 2D animation and shit. Just the way that the fucking sequences are set up is weird. They're using coconuts. I mean, again, it's like a film where they're trying at every possible venue. It's like, okay, how do we insert absurdity here?
How do we make this stylistically ridiculous? Yes, but as far as storytelling goes, no.
Wait, what is not experimental about the storytelling of Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Well, no, I'm talking about what other films? Barbie. This is why I brought up Inception. Inception does this weird storytelling thing. Memento is probably a better example of doing a completely experimental storytelling thing.
In terms of plot structure, but the plot of this film hardly matters. Is the thing.
Well, all we're talking about is the plot.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay.
Again, it's not. I don't see the plot of this film as being worthy of serious focus or being particularly important to the overall experience.
The plot is the vehicle driving the story. Yeah, what are we focusing on if not the plot? I don't understand.
The jokes. What do you mean? It's a comedy.
Well, if you want to just say that the movie's funny and you should just accept that it's funny, that's fine.
I said that.
But I'm just saying that the plot and the themes of the movie that all surround it are dog shit.
Yeah,
you can still like it and say it's funny. Well,
you're prescribing what the themes of the film should be and then complaining that it's not that.
Well, no, I'm saying
you're like literally building
the movie are
man.
trying to say, then fucking up at certain points.
It's not trying to say those things.
Well, no, it is.
At the very least, huge numbers of people disagree with your interpretation.
No. You say, Sitch, I understand what you're seeing in the themes. However, what you're missing, Sitch, is that you're not supposed to take any of this stuff seriously. Okay, so the disconnect isn't me seeing things that aren't there. The disconnect is you're saying I'm seeing things. I'm not supposed to be interpreting these themes and things that are presented to me as being serious themes. That's the disconnect.
You're
not
saying
that I'm making up anything.
You're saying the movie has this very serious feminist message, and it blunders its feminist message in all of these ways. And if it wanted to get its message across correctly, it should have been made this way instead.
Well, I'm saying when I say it should, I mean like from a liberal perspective as opposed to a woke perspective. I'm putting my own moral judgment on it, but.
Well, no, because you're saying what you think the themes of the film are, and the reasons that you think that the film fails to convey those themes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying how the film should be constructed if it were to be properly woke and actually send a cohesive woke message is basically what you were saying earlier.
Well, yeah,
but again,
at one point, yeah, I did say that, sure.
But yeah, I don't agree with any of that. I don't think those are the intended themes of the film. And the evidence that you're bringing forward to say that the film was fucking up its own themes is the evidence I would bring forward to say that the film is not trying to send those themes. The writers aren't that incompetent that they wouldn't be able to notice these things. I mean, a lot of these things are incredibly blatant. Yet the purpose was to be like, woke, Matt Walsh woke propaganda to fucking indoctrinate children. It wouldn't be this movie.
But here's the
look like this.
Here's the problem. The problem is, number one, as I already said, the speech which is used to solve the Ken-Barbie conflict is supposed to be taken seriously. And that speech is kind of important to the themes that I've been talking about, to what I think the movie is trying to say. And number two, at no point in the movie is there any real, like, direct, explicit acknowledgement that all the patriarchy shit is not true, or that it shouldn't be true, and that you shouldn't look at the world through this sort of feminist lens.
Okay,
then
first
the movie
of all,
never takes the opportunity to do that.
First of all, there are several times when it's acknowledged as being not true. First of all, there's the stuff with Ken. Second of all, the corporation was founded by Ruth. The stuff with Ruth is making it pretty clear. She says that explicitly at the end.
Why
She's
did
like,
why did they hide that in the movie? That was so weird.
Wait,
when Barbie
because they were okay. I mean, if you want like the actual functional reason of why they did it that way, because they thought the Mattel sequence was funny and it wasn't funny. That's the reason.
Yeah, but that's the problem, because like when Barbie
the problem is that the comedy wasn't funny. It's not, the problem isn't that it's like going for some horrific like woke message.
I'm not talking about whether the comedy
problem
was
with that
funny
sequence
is
that it's not funny. Like if that sequence was funny, there wouldn't be an issue.
When Barbie goes to see Will Ferrell, and she's like, "Where are all the women in charge?" Okay, first of all, so we're cutting out the fact that in real life there are 5 women on the board, obviously, number one, and then number two, when Will Ferrell's like, "Oh yeah, there was once a woman in charge," or whatever, he tries to play it off like it's not, like there wasn't a woman that was really ever in charge, or if she was in the past, not a big deal. When in reality, it was like, no, the fucking woman who created Barbie ran the company for 30 fucking years.
It's sad. It's making Will Ferrell into a character to be satirized, and then the movie is undercutting that later with Ruth to show that message wasn't meant to be taken seriously.
When Will Ferrell,
Ruth founded the company.
So when Will Ferrell said that, we're not supposed to take him seriously. But then when he says, "I don't care about money. I'm doing this for the dreams of the little girls," are we supposed to take that seriously?
Will Ferrell is a heel. He's a personification of toxic masculinity that you're supposed to laugh at. That's the purpose of Will Ferrell's character.
When he says, "I don't care about money. We have to save Barbie because I care about little girls being able to dream that they can do anything." If he's lying, then what motivates him to try to fix anything in the first place when they're making more money selling the patriarchal Ken dolls?
Because it's implied that there's going to be a problem with their bottom line, that they have to go fucking rescue the people.
No, that's never said in the movie. That's never said in the movie.
I'm pretty sure it is.
No, because they're literally skating to go to the Barbie universe, and someone's like, "Wait a minute. Why are we doing all this? The Ken dolls are selling more money." He says, "You think we're just doing this for money? We're doing this for a little. I didn't become the CEO of this company to do that. I came the CEO to like give little girls dreams. If it was just for the money," he would have said, "You're right." And then he would have turned around and they would have gone back to their fucking office and they would have sat on their hands, which, by the way, they could have done because Will Ferrell, being the Barbie universe, had no fucking impact on the plot whatsoever.
Well, yeah, that plot should have just been cut out.
So he could have literally done that.
I mean, that plot thread didn't particularly work.
Yeah, but see, that's going to my point.
We're making progress.
We're making progress.
This isn't the next terms of endearment, Doomer.
I didn't say it was. It's I have said from the very beginning, it is a work of pure silly entertainment that is not meant to be taken seriously.
Okay.
I don't think.
But then at the same time, you're saying, "Oh, this is an amazing story experimental
about
movie that
a lot of the filmmaking stuff is experimental.
Is changing filmmaking forever."
But it's an experimental in the service of being entertaining, not in the service of delivering some, smuggling some woke propaganda in, to fucking gay the kids or whatever. That's not what the movie is trying to do. It's supposed to be a silly movie that's trying to make you laugh, and it made me laugh a lot in ways that I'm not accustomed to. Again, I'm pretty film literate. The movie surprised me consistently.
So yeah, but it's weird because like all the things that I'm talking about is like the themes and all stuff. You're saying all that stuff is a joke, not to be taken seriously. But then you're saying but there is a serious part of the movie that should be taken seriously, which is about like a girl becoming an adult woman.
The vast majority
and everything and all that stuff, that's all supposed to be taken seriously.
The vast majority of comedies are going to have some period of time that is supposed to be taken seriously. And all this stuff in the film that's supposed to be taken seriously, it's not the fucking patriarchy stuff, their fucking dance party stuff, or any of that shit.
Well, obviously, the dance parties,
it's women
to be taken seriously.
It's women talking about women's problems, like women being insecure and fucking having problems being little girls, and how fucking hard it is going out into the world. Like those are real problems. I don't like. It's good that the fucking movie has that. Again, this is a product that is made way more for women than most movies usually are. It's not a bad thing that it has those kind of messages.
No, I don't disagree. And if the movie was just like about girls and the problems girls have, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. You know, having more movies about mother-daughter relationships, I'm on board with. Having more movies that are aimed at women and about women's problems, I'm on board with. But I think as soon as you take that structure of the movie aimed at the mother-daughter or women, and you shove into it all this gender conflict shit that can be very easily interpreted as like, man bad, you live in a sexist patriarchy, that confuses all of that. Because then it makes me think, oh, well, it's not just about women's issues. It's about women's issues at the cost of men.
Taking the totality of the film, I don't know how you come away from that. I don't agree.
Okay. Well, it was an interesting debate.
I'm saluting you, Sitch.
To say about it?
I'm saluting you, Sitch. Very well put.
Thank you, Adam.
Adam is such a kiss ass. He's arguing my point before I come on here, and then I come on here, and now he's fucking, Sitch is so right.
Well, I convinced him with my amazing arguments.
Yeah.
Well, he's making great points. What do you want me to tell you? Look, Doomer, sure. I agree with you that Sitch is taking the jokes in the real world too seriously for a comedy, but at the same time, he makes a good point that all the jokes go in one direction. The writers are woke idiots.
Not all the jokes go in one direction. Like I don't understand it. So many times I've gone through and pointed out a bunch of things that just don't make any sense if that's the goal of the movie.
The speech that America Ferrera gives.
Yes, there is that one scene, and then there's all these other things in the film that contradict the idea that should be taken.
If the writers were self-aware,
they are.
That scene could have been hilarious. That scene could have been so funny.
That scene's not supposed to be funny. But
yes, that's the point. That's the point. You just said it. Look, you just said it. That's the point.
Greta Gerwig is not an idiot. Noah Baumbach is not an idiot. They're not gonna make unforced errors and put a bunch of shit in their film that completely undermines the point they're trying to make. The fact that all that shit's in the movie is a very clear indication that they weren't trying to make the point you think they're trying to make.
Did you? Well, there's two things to talk about. First of all, is number one, we have to remember that Greta Gerwig doesn't have full control of this movie. Mattel has.
I am very dubious of that.
What? Why? The reason
she had a lot of control. So did Margot Robbie's production.
The reason that they had the scene, specifically, in my opinion, where Will Ferrell says it's not about the money, it's about little girls' dreams. That's because Mattel wouldn't allow them to just say, "Oh, it's about the money, it's fine," right? Like I wouldn't even be surprised if in the first draft they were going to go try to stop Ken, and then they're like, "Oh, we're making money," and they just go back home and don't care.
Okay, maybe, but there's so much stuff in this film that's a brand risk. Like this is not a corporate handheld product. There's just no way.
What is a brand
risk? Not a total handheld, but they're not a handheld.
Everything.
Obviously, this was definitely signed off by Mattel. Tells it, this is fine.
The movie is portraying both Mattel and Barbie in a bad light for most of the film. And there's so much of this, like there's so many things in this film that you would not want, like it would get you dinged in the first 8 seconds of a YouTube video because people don't want it next to their advertisement. This doesn't look to me even vaguely close. I mean, the only corporate entity I can think of that has advertising like this is Opera GX's Twitter.
What do you think specifically about this? Because I don't really feel like there's a lot of brand risk for this movie for Barbie.
It felt to me like the fucking whole movie was a brand risk.
Okay.
It felt pretty. It did not feel like standard advertisement material to me.
Well, it didn't feel standard.
I was sitting there
like
for most of the movie, like, I can't believe this got made. Well, the Lego movie isn't talking about politics.
Look, I know. All of the politics are in line with the woke agenda. How is it against the woke agenda? Which the woke agenda I'm defining as corporate safe.
I don't wait.
Right.
Okay, I would need to go back through and like record the moments, but I felt many times watching the film, I can't believe this isn't a film whose chief purpose is to sell a product, to sell Barbie. There's so many things in the film that made me.
Two feminists who are buying it for their daughters who they hope are going to grow up to be feminists.
It's again, I don't buy the idea that the fucking message of the movie is purely feminist.
Okay.
I don't remotely buy that. Okay. There's lots of content in the film that does not support that idea.
Well, okay. So, did you hear the story I told about?
So don't sit there and fucking laugh at me. Every single fucking thing Sitch says about, look at how bad look at how clumsy the movie is. Look at how badly they did their message. Every single fucking thing he says in that spiel is evidence that is not the message they were trying to communicate.
Well, no,
because these people are not that stupid.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
And I was about to ask you, my informed opinion.
Yeah, so I was about to ask you when we're talking about are they stupid? Did you hear the part in the stream where I was talking about Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling's experience when they were filming the roller skate scene?
Yeah, did you hear that part?
I don't care about that.
No, but wait a minute. That's important. Because if that's how the director views that interaction, to me, that shows you where her headspace is. And it shows you that she is detached from looking at things from an objective, or what I would consider a more objective manner.
Okay, I'm not trying to argue that Greta Gerwig is an anti-SJW. Okay?
I'm
saying Greta Gerwig is not an idiot. And if her goal was to make
she had a pretty idiotic take in that interaction where she's like, they're not coming up to her because they're sexist.
I mean, you had a pretty idiotic take a couple hours ago talking about your take on the Barbie movie, so I guess we're even.
Yeah, okay. So you're dodging because you know that this is
it's not relevant. This is the fucking
in my favor.
It's not a piece of evidence in your favor. I could go fucking cherry pick some fucking interview to make my point too. That's not how arguments work. It's fucking dumb.
Okay, let me ask you another question.
This is fucking Jimmy Dore shit. Oh, look, I found an article. I'll read it a certain way.
Let me ask you a question.
That's not how you argue things.
In the movie, when they had the scene, like early in the movie, they had the scene where there's the all-female Barbie Supreme Court. Okay. Why? And then they had what is the Barbies doing on the female Supreme Court? They're giving the left-wing take on Citizen United that corporations don't have speech. What are we supposed to interpret when we see that scene?
Oh my god, dude!
Or is it just a joke? And we're not supposed to interpret anything. It's just a joke.
I mean, I took it as a joke. It's really funny.
I took it as a joke that we were supposed to interpret like, listen, if women were in charge, they would have the correct opinion on Citizens United.
Oh my god. How do you watch the movie and think that?
Okay, when you have a movie that's all about gender politics and you have an established matriarchy, and they specifically have the matriarchy talking about a Supreme Court case that's very contentious and goes in a left-right-wing direction, and they give the complete left-wing take on it, what is the message of this scene?
Right, that's a great point, Sitch.
I've changed my mind. We should teach the Barbie movie in master's level liberal arts education.
Yes. Wait, yeah, what is the joke? What was the joke in that scene? Like, what is the funny, what makes that scene funny?
It's
just
a satire
they have a different
of itself.
opinion on Citizens United is what makes it funny?
It's funny that Barbies would be saying that, and then it would be in a fucking movie about Barbies.
Why did they choose Citizens United? They could choose any case.
It's something everybody knows about.
Okay. So little girls don't know about Citizens fucking United.
It's not the movie's not for little girls. How fucking dense are you?
They do now.
You just said the movie's not for little girls.
Every little girl in America is looking up Citizens United right now.
Yes.
I saw them all in the movie theater.
They could have just Doomer. They could have just made up some
like
silly.
You should know. No.
Why did they just make up some silly thing like? Oh, we Barbies rule that it's, you have to wear pink every day of the year.
Because the juxtaposition of real world political issues with Barbies is inherently funny, which is why the movie was so fucking funny. And you should know this from doing YouTube, that you don't want to use examples that people aren't going to know about because people will click off your fucking video. You try and use examples that are as contextually relevant as possible and that people are going to know about. That's why you would use Citizens United, something that literally everyone knows about, even if they're not politically engaged. That's why they use Citizens
Why
United.
is it only in a left-wing direction? Why didn't they use it? Why didn't they do a right-wing case? Right? They make the Barbies be right wing.
Are you actually asking why there aren't black sons in this movie? I don't fucking know.
No, I'm asking why didn't. Okay, here's one. Why didn't the Barbies say the Supreme Court of Barbie says gay marriage is not allowed?
That would have been way more hilarious.
Okay.
I mean, they could do that when the Kens take over, and that would have landed pretty good.
Oh,
so now the Kens are the bad guys, huh? Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that the Kens are perceived as right wing and bad, and the Barbies are perceived as left wing and good?
The Barbies again. Yeah, it's interesting how contrast in fucking storytelling works. If the Barbies are established as left wing and the Kens are opposed to the Barbies, then the Kens will be perceived as right wing.
Do you think it could work the other way?
Doomer, how much?
The Kens you're trying to establish a patriarchy. Why do I need to explain the most simple shit about the movie to you?
Doomer, how much funnier would it have been if they came out and just the Supreme Court case outlawed gay marriage right in the very beginning of the movie? That would have been hilarious.
That would have been very funny, but everyone who was left in the audience would have lost their fucking minds.
And
suddenly, the comedy of the movie wouldn't be so funny anymore. It wouldn't be funny.
Well, it looks like everybody who's fucking right wing lost their fucking minds.
Oh my god, the Barbies are right wing. What? The Barbies want to build the wall? No, it's the Kens that want to build the wall. Oh, okay. It's fine if if the men are all the right wing. That's fine.
If you want a serious answer about why incorporate politics into this, like. First of all, like I said, the juxtaposition of politics with Barbie is inherently funny.
Don't dodge the question.
I don't disagree.
Doomer, you're dodging the question.
I am still talking.
Wouldn't the gay marriage thing be funnier? Be honest.
I don't know. I mean, the movie was incredibly funny, so I wouldn't change anything, to be completely honest.
You would have laughed
your ass off. Well, now I forgot what I'm fucking going to say.
You were saying putting Barbie with politics is intrinsically funny, which I agree with.
Yeah, but I was going to say something else, and my brain's a piece of shit today.
So. But right-wing Barbie outlawing gay marriage in the beginning of the movie. Look, then it makes sense when the little girl calls her a fascist. You're a little bit on the little girl's side. You're like, well, she is kind of a fascist.
See, that would have actually, you know what they should have done? Okay, the beginning of the movie is exactly the same. Barbie's all left wing, and they're all the matriarchy. Ken comes back. He establishes the patriarchy. Barbie saves everyone, but then the Barbies become socialists. It becomes like they have to save the Barbies from the authoritarian socialists.
Let the record show
they come together and form a liberal democracy, and everyone's happy. Okay.
Let the record show that PSA Sitch has written Barbie fan fiction.
I did right now, on stream live for everyone to witness. That would have been great. You could have had like Barbie with like the what would they use as a hammer and sickle? It could be like a mirror and like a like a nail polish thing or something. That would have been that would have been great like imagery.
I mean, the reason that the gender politics stuff gets brought in seems more obvious to me the more I think about it. I mean, looking at so many things of the film come intrinsically out of the Barbie IP and how do you take it and make it into a funny movie. Mm-hmm. And like one of the few things, if you were trying to contrast politics with the Barbie universe, gender politics would be one of the very few things you could talk about because, I mean, there's like, differences between males and females. And it does seem to make a good deal of sense why they would go in that direction.
Okay.
I mean, there's no Karl Marx references.
I think they could have just.
It's not like they're quoting Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I mean, they might as well have. I think they should have just done the Enchanted route, and that would have been fine. I don't think they needed politics in it whatsoever. Or if they were going to put politics in it, it should have been far more politics in the liberal centrist realm.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
very one-sided.
I view art exclusively.
Feminist, I view art
exclusively through the lens of my own politics, and I can't.
Because my politics are the right politics. Yes.
Because my politics are right. Because I am so smart.
Yes.
And if a movie disagrees with my politics in any way, I cannot enjoy it.
Well, I can enjoy it. I mean, I said the movie. We talked about how the movie we thought failed from other aspects, but you like. Well, yeah, you think it's experimental.
It's not a perfect movie. Well, it is experimental in terms of comedy. Right. But yeah, I mean, there's parts of the Mattel sequence doesn't really work. The America Ferrera speech is overbearing, but that's like about it. I mean, I don't have.
Yeah, but it doesn't bother you that? Well, I guess because we have different takes. We think that Barbie's a bad main character because we don't really understand her motivations, or she's not really impacting the plot in any way. And you're fine with that because she's an allegory for a child. So.
We understand her motivations. She's just not a typical protagonist, which is not a problem to me.
We don't understand. How can you say that, Doomer? She becomes a real woman. We don't even know why. We don't understand her motivation at all.
Yeah, why does she want to become a real woman at the end?
Wait, okay. she's uncomfortable with living in Barbie land because she went to the real world and she basically got touched with existential dread and now she can't go back. It's like the fucking Joseph Campbell plot point. Like she returns, but she returns changed and she can no longer appreciate the Barbie world.
None of that is in the movie.
Yes, it is.
That's all headcanon.
No, it's not. It's in the fucking movie. That's the entire thing.
She doesn't say anything like, "Oh, it's."
She absolutely does.
What lines does she say that lead you to believe that she's unable to?
Immediately following the reestablishment of the matriarchy and the accomplishing of seemingly the primary goals of the plot, Barbie starts talking about how she's still not happy and how that didn't fix anything. And then Ruth comes out of the and that's when Ruth shows up.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. No, that does happen, but that doesn't really. The reason I say that's bad filmmaking is because she hasn't even existed in the new or the re-old society for like a second before she comes to this conclusion. It's not like there's a scene where everything's back to the way it was and it's just different. She sees everything in a different light because she's tasted reality. She's tasted from the fruit of the tree of knowledge and she can never go back. She can only go forward.
Yeah, none of that is in the movie.
Why you guys sound like you're fucking Mahler analyzing fucking Star Wars? It's not like that. It's a silly movie. It's satirical. It's I don't like. Do we have a fucking
is that
a
an
formal
insult?
denouement?
I mean, I'll take Mahler. Look, that's a compliment, man. Thanks.
It's not an insult. I'm saying that that lens of analysis is totally inappropriate for the movie that you're looking at.
Yeah, I understand. You're saying it's a funny kids movie that's giving like very sort of hyperbolic / shallow representations of these concepts.
You have every reason to believe that strict causality is being thwarted purposefully. Okay. So complaining that strict causality is not being followed is just ridiculous because the
character motivation has nothing to do with strict causality. Okay.
I just explained the character motivation. You just denied that the scene
out of headcanon that wasn't in the movie.
Wait. It is in the movie. You can have a movie where every character just explains their motivation, right? But we generally acknowledge that showing that motivation impact the characters is much better than them just making a declaratory statement about it and just becoming and saying, this is how I'm motivated now. And you're like, well, but why?
Oh my God.
And you're saying, well, because it's a funny kids movie, it's fine.
Her motivation is completely clear. I can chart it out scene by scene. Okay. In the beginning, she's enjoying her fucking life and everything is set up in a very particular way. And then the scene repeats. And then we have the fucking inciting incident where she starts having fear of death.
She does not have those. Those are the motivations of the mother in the real world. She
experiences them.
Yes, but they aren't motivated by her. She perceives them as a problem to solve.
They're shoved upon her by an external
force. It's completely...
Yes, but that is her motivating factor, is to get rid of these things.
Not her motivating factor.
In the beginning, it's to get rid of that. It's just to return order to her.
It is her motivating factor. It's just not intrinsically caused. It's extrinsic, but it is her motivating factor.
And that's fine. Again, the beginning of the movie, classic, her world is thrown to chaos from an external source. She goes on a journey to return order to her home. I don't have a problem with any of that. But it's just after that, her motivation just seems to go to the wayside. The fact that her agency in the story seems to go to the wayside, and she becomes basically a hanger-on for the rest of the story.
Wait, okay, the point where you're saying that she loses agency is the point where the entire rest of the movie is her talking to Ruth and then going to the gynecologist. That's the only thing that happens after that point.
I know, but wait, no. She goes to the real world, okay? So she's on the journey to fix herself. Then she gets saved by the mother, by just happenstance, because the mother just happens over the place and happens to see Barbie there. Okay. And then as soon as Barbie's saved by the mother, Barbie doesn't do fucking jack shit for the rest of the movie. That's like half the movie's left.
It's even worse because like she doesn't get into the box and she doesn't even know why she's not getting into the box. She doesn't even know.
I changed my mind. The movie is about Albert Camus, okay? The Barbie experiences existential dread and the fucking emptiness of nihilism of the real world, okay? And she realizes that she can't go back to childhood, okay? And she has to stare that in the face and decides that in the face of all that pain, she's going to stand up and become a real person and experience adulthood with all of its problems.
Wouldn't it be great if that was in the movie?
Yeah, that would be great.
Adam, what the fuck? Pay attention.
That would be great if that was the movie.
Oh my fucking God. Very conveniently, just forget parts of the movie. Just forget things that happen.
What you're saying,
narrative.
What you're saying is, I think that's like what they're trying to say, but they're just declaring it. It's not actually part of the movie. because, as I said,
a
lot of this movie,
oh my God,
they go too long in parts they don't need to go, and they go too shallow in things that need to be expanded on. We never even had the scene. First of all, Barbie should have agency in the Barbie world and helping fix the problem, fix the conflict.
Sitch,
number one, and then number two. Wait, and then number two. Once the problem is this would be the classic movie thing. After Barbie solves the conflict in the Barbie world and returns order, she then has the moment, the scene. You just need one scene where she's like, "Oh, this isn't what I want anymore. This actually isn't fulfilling to me anymore." She goes through her morning routine like she did in the beginning of the movie, and it's just not the same. And it's not the same because, as you said, she's faced down the existential dread. Yeah, she's tasted the real world.
Why are you talking about me having headcanon and you're repeatedly trying to rewrite the fucking movie into something?
I'm telling you what they should have done to accomplish the thing you're saying they accomplished, but didn't.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what's happening.
Anyways, let me read some super chats.
Jesus Christ.
You want to stick around, Doomer? Or?
I'll stick around or chill. Whatever's up to you.
Well, he always leaves, I want an opportunity to kick him for once.
J-Mac, our surrogate father.
Now's your opportunity, buddy.
J-Mac for $20 says, you should watch the Ben Shapiro versus Brett Cooper Barbie debate. I mean, the disparity of people's opinions on the movie is infinitely more interesting to me than the movie itself. Interesting. I didn't even know they had a different opinion. I am curious to see that.
Brett Cooper versus Ben Shapiro. Is that what's going on? That sounds interesting.
That sounds interesting. That does sound interesting. J-Mac or Surrogate Fod for another $20 says, Barbie started out as a joke sex doll with a vagina, so it's like poetry. It rhymes. George Lucasisms intensifies. Interesting. Nilo for $2 says, grown men talking about Barbie is instant fail. Well, there you go. I like that the movie has drawn so much conversation about it, which I think is infinitely more interesting than the movie itself. Prince Gabbles for 20 knock knock says, bring on Doomer, damn it. P.S. Tickle Adam's tummy.
What?
Doomer, do you want to tickle Adam's tummy?
I'm good.
Please, no. But we did bring Doomer on, so you got your request.
I think Prince Gabbles liked the movie. I'm assuming. So I think he's on Team Doomer for this one.
Look, I said I would recommend the movie. I did, so I don't like.
I don't.
You don't for an interesting reason. You don't because you think.
Well, I thought it was boring.
Shits on men and is
even
boring.
without the politics, I thought it was too boring for me to enjoy. So
I think it was exciting watching.
We'll go have fun with Oppenheimer, buddy.
I thought it was exciting watching Ken kick ass. For me, he's the hero. He's the hero of the movie.
Dude, fucking Sitch is like, this movie where the fucking governmental conflict is resolved with a dance contest doesn't take its fucking existential themes seriously enough. It doesn't spend enough time in the denouement to fucking resolve Barbie's character conflict. And chat's like, oh yes, Sitch. What the fuck, dude? I don't understand. How do you take the fucking movie so seriously? Yeah, okay.
Okay, wait. What is this is the problem. Like, Monty Python is a wacky movie, okay? You're like, they had that like one scene where the king is like, where Arthur comes over and he's talking to the peasants and he's like, I'm your king. And they're like, I didn't vote for you. And they kind of do this like whole side quest about like the politics of the monarchy and how it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Like, that's played completely as a joke. That has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It's obvious that it's a joke. There's no like grander theme. Maybe there is. I've never tried to analyze Monty Python.
Yeah, it's a throwaway. Good point.
It didn't seem to me that there were any like grander themes in Monty Python in what Monty Python was trying to say about society as a whole, so that when the end of the movie is basically cucked, or I guess just say cock-blocked, by the police coming in and stopping the movie from finishing in the big climax, that's part of the joke, and it doesn't really like have anything to do with the themes of the movie, because there really aren't any themes in the movie. It's just a funny, wacky movie. Barbie clearly does have themes and messages it's trying to say about things.
Okay, it doesn't need to be fucking one-to-one to make the point about the tone of the movie obviously being satirical and silly. And beyond that's not my point. There are very, very consistent references throughout Holy Grail about like the injustices of the feudal system. Like that's not just one time. I mean, it's sprinkled all throughout the movie.
I mean, very lightly.
Well,
I don't think Monty Python is trying to make statements about like monarchy in the modern era where no one's really.
It's not nearly as
most people weren't trying to advocate to return back to like feudalism or something.
No, it's a very different story structure. Right. It's not the same thing, but it's the very similar tone.
Right. I don't remember Life of Brian enough to comment on what the message of Life of Brian was. I've only seen it once. I've seen Monty Python the Holy Grail. I've seen it like a million times, but
I think I've seen Life of Brian twice.
To me, Holy Grail is kind of like Airplane. It's just a silly, goofy parody movie that doesn't really have a deeper message about anything. Where Barbie clearly does have deeper messages about that.
Citation needed,
which
sir.
You agree? Well, no, what you agree with, because you were saying that the message was about a girl becoming a woman.
Well, that's not a super deep message. It's like a very typical tacked on.
Well, I
thing
mean,
to
they
give the movie
felt the need to have like a 10-minute speech where, Barbie's mom imparts motherhood to her at the end of the movie, so they took that seriously.
I mean, it's not serious in the sense that it undermines the tone of the rest of the film.
Okay. Theo Wolf for $5 says, quote, "Now I have become Me Too'd, destroyer of careers. By the way, I'm a rare Ken male with massive amounts of Kenergy radiating just from my presence." True. Sammy G, hey Sammy. Sammy for $5 says, "Here's a tip for the 2 shows I got to see today. One is the normal stream, and the other one is watching Doomer suffer and chat from Sitch's takes." And now you got a third show, Sammy. Now you got a third show.
Sammy is lucky we don't hit women.
Wow. Disavow.
After he saw Barbie too.
I know. Jeez.
He obviously didn't.
It didn't infect me with Marxism, unfortunately.
It's some real Ken cell energy you're vibrating with.
Doomer, wouldn't the Barbies want to outlaw gay marriage so that the Kens were exclusively focused on them?
Yeah,
wouldn't that make sense thematically?
Adam, you're really fixated on this.
There you go. It's a good
I'm just wondering why you're giving it a pass. It would be logically coherent.
Why did the movie should have done that. If the movie wanted to be subversive, the Kens, as a way to revolt against the Barbies, all decide to get gay married and leave the Barbies behind, and then the Barbie Supreme Court has to enact anti-gay Ken legislation.
Yeah, no, that would be that would be much funnier. And
that's
also
a fucking movie. Okay.
Also, giving the middle finger to civility politics.
That would have been funny. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And it would have made perfect sense too, because they don't have genitals, so why do they even have sexual attraction to each other or anything?
Why do they even care? Yeah.
Yeah, why do they even care? Ken should have gone into the real world. Instead of finding the patriarchy, he should have found gayness and been like, what? Dudes can just be dudes with each other? Oh my god. And his whole world opens up. He goes back to the Barbie world.
And then he's totally gay.
To be gay with each other, and all the Barbies realize that they just took the Kens for granted.
Right, and then they enact anti-gay legislation to get the Kens back.
Yes. Oh, look, we've made the movie so much better.
Yeah.
I'm going to write my Barbie fanfic.
Unfortunately, Mattel is not going to sign off on the fucking anti-gay legislation.
First of all,
because
I can't endorse writing a screenplay during this strike, okay? First of all.
Okay, it's a good point. Okay. Vincent Martin for $12. Thanks so much for being a 1-year free will seeker. Says, not saying that this is the Barbie movie's intent, death of the author and all, but look up The Theater of the Absurd.
I guess we can't give hearts to those. We can only give hearts to super chats.
What do you mean give hearts?
On my screen, I'm showing I did a little heart.
Oh, you're
thing.
right. There's little hearts. What does the hearts do?
I added hearts to the ones that you read just so we know they're read.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they I don't know if they see a heart on their end or what, but
yeah, I don't know. Theater of the Absurd is a post-World War II designation, in particular for plays of absurdist fiction written by primarily European playwrights. It is a term for the style of theater the play represents. The play focuses largely on ideas of existentialism and express what happens when human existence lacks meaning or purpose and communication breaks down. The structure of the play is typically a round shape, the finishing point the same as the starting point. Logical construction and argument give way to rational and logical speech, and to the ultimate conclusion, silence. Interesting.
Dude, straight up, Barbie is an allegory for Albert Camus. The writings of Albert Camus, straight up.
Okay.
I love Albert Camus.
I haven't
seen Barbie the Stranger?
100%.
The closest thing I probably read to that would be considered as something kind of related to that is Invitation to Beheading. It's very kind of in that vein.
Since you don't know how to read.
That is true. J-Mac, our surrogate father, for $50 says DoomerMedia is sexy and I'm tired of pretending he's not. Well, there you go. at that.
Yeah, you guys ruined it. Doomer won't even go on camera anymore because you all call him fat. You bastards.
I'm just gonna get hot again, and then they can't see that.
There you go. What do you mean get hot again? You're already beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
You don't need aspirational goals. Just accept yourself for who you are.
That's not true. I just saw this Barbie movie and I'm pretty insecure. Ken was.
You saw Ryan Gosling. You're like, oh, I feel insecure about my body now.
Ken was a very beefy in this movie, which was hilarious.
Did you notice that, like, in the last dance sequence, like the veins on his arms got like crazy, and he was like wearing a jacket for the rest of it. And I was like, what the fuck's happening there?
He has like crazy washboard abs too. I'm like, what the fuck? How do his abs stick out like an inch?
Steroids.
You think it is? You think it's steroids? Wow.
Yeah, come on.
Every male Hollywood star is taking steroids. 100%.
Yeah,
really?
I don't think you could get that shredded.
Yeah,
I gotta get some I gotta get me some steroids in. Jeez.
I don't think that look is physically possible without steroids. Like that didn't exist before like the 60s or 70s, I think.
I think he was on steroids. It was pretty ridiculous. Let's see. Could have been CG, who knows? They CG'd his abs.
I thought it might be CG. I wasn't sure.
Blaine's Escape Corner for $5 says, I didn't say Doomer looked fat. I said he looked like a guy whose favorite food is pizza.
How to say it without saying it, right?
Ouch.
Someone in the chat says Doomer is getting salty. Did you miss the like hour and a half of me screaming? I'm comparatively very calm right now.
First of all, Doomer isn't getting salty. Doomer was born salty. Okay.
Did you see my new graphics I came up with during the stream?
I did it one part.
We have the hyper cope and the cope spiral.
The cope spiral.
And the hyper cope spiral.
I liked it.
Wait, where?
On stream, he made like a cope spiral graphic that was like spiral.
Oh, okay.
Not Gay Ben, our favorite super chatter for $2 says, "Fuck A Team or S Class. I'm a Doomer simp now." There you go.
All right, Adam. I'll send you my business email so you can pay me royalties
for your cope
Look at
spiral.
That cope spiral. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like hypercope. Oh, these are great. These are great graphics. Just don't ever use them against me. You're not allowed. Okay. Not allowed.
The hypercope spiral.
Not allowed.
You might want to slow them down a little bit. That one was kind of making me nauseous a little bit.
I wonder if I could.
You could. World of Givia for $5 says Doomer unironically said cape shit and admitted to control effing his name in the comments. Great stream, boys. Who cares if Barbie is good?
I do control F my name in the comments, boys. I'm on the watch.
I thought you said you accidentally control F something. I didn't understand what you meant when you said that. But okay. Luke W for $5 says, quote, "You're not supposed to take anything they say seriously except for the one point because I agree with it." Doomer.
Doomer, you want to respond to that?
Infamous postmodern neo-Marxist Doomer, yeah.
Real. What's the takeaway for 8 months? Thanks so much. Says 5-hour Barbie debate that only ends because Doomer is screeching such a high pitch that only dogs can hear.
Oh,
ouch.
Oh, that's cruel.
I don't appreciate that.
Doomer, thanks for coming on. You're getting a lot of hate. I don't think it's fair. So I disagree.
I can't imagine why Adam's sitting there. Oh man, Sitch is so smart.
I disagree. I disagree. Well, I mean, he's making good points, and I'm keep waiting for you to make good rebuttals.
Listen.
Your rebuttals are, that was it.
Oh my god,
that was in the movie hypothetically, but you're not able to point to any point
where it was. You don't even remember what's in the fucking movie. I mean, I'm gonna fucking lose it.
Listen. Everyone, love and be nice to Doomer because we need a heel. Okay. It's just boring if it's just me like yelling to Adam and Adam agreeing. We need someone to come in here and yell at me and tell me I'm wrong. Yeah. And then for us to argue. That's what makes it.
You know what? Greta Gerwig, the Marxist, is right. Okay. You're exploiting my labor. Marx was completely correct. Okay. This is a completely unjust situation that's going on right now.
I mean, true, but yes.
Can't believe the capitalist exploitation of the entertainer class that's going on here.
True. No more fat super chats. We'll get him to go on camera next time.
Nilo for $2 says humor reveals values regarding Joker dorks. There you go. Sodoge for $5 says, does Doomer seriously not understand that Monty Python movies have a message? Both Life of Brian and Holy Grail were poking fun at political topics. I don't remember it in Holy Grail, but
they don't have particularly strong political messages. I mean, like that. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm saying. Is like they're dealing with political topics,
right?
But it's not like super heavy-handed.
Yeah, nothing like the
Barbie movie, Holy Grail and Life of Brian are clearly, dealing with political topics. I guess in Life of Brian it's more religious topics, but
sure,
it's light enough that it's not going to seriously offend the people who believe those things.
Well, and I don't remember Life of Brian. Holy Grail, obviously, there weren't many people advocating for feudalism. But
yeah.
Lucy Lemon Bug, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Lucy. Bruins for 13 months. Thank you. Says, I was thinking Sitch was too autistic about this dumb movie, but now Doomer's making me agree with Sitch more. Anyway, here's the 13 months. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, chat, just so we have an understanding, chat, I called a truce at the beginning of the stream, okay? I will never do that again.
Well, see, maybe this is why we have to have you on more, because are you saying that, like, before you came on, people thought I was wrong? They hadn't seen the movie, but they assumed I was wrong. But now
the chat was agreeing with me the whole fucking time when I was in chat losing my mind, responding to
the people were agreeing.
Stupid fucking shit you were saying and having a stroke. The chat was like, "Oh my god, Doomer! Oh, I'm so based."
The people that
and then I go on stream, say the exact same fucking thing, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
But we're asking you questions, and you don't have good responses for them, Doomer. That's the problem.
You keep circling in questions and ignoring my fucking responses. I just keep answering the same question over and over again. You're like, "Well, you didn't say this." Like I said that like 4 times. You want me to say it again?
Again, it's not in the movie.
So
I agree to disagree.
Well, I'm curious. The people that agreed with you before you came on, had they actually seen the movie, or were they just based on what I was saying? They didn't.
I mean, chat isn't a monolith, Sitch. Okay, I'm sure some of them have seen the movie, some of them have not.
I'm curious about that.
I think most of them have not. Here, I'll do a quick poll.
Maybe I'm just bad at explaining things. So maybe I should only talk about things in terms of a debate. Yeah, someone brought up a good point. Is Idiocracy a comedy or is it political? I mean, obviously it's comedy primarily, but it has political elements to it and political themes to it. Though primarily the theme, the theme of Idiocracy is just that people are fucking stupid. Really,
it's not really political.
It's not political. It's just
the only political possible. I mean, it could be implying a dysgenic worldview, but aside from that,
yes.
Like Idiocracy it's much more similar to a Monty Python situation where it's like it will occasionally touch on politics and stuff.
Right. Well, it's saying something about like the lowest tier of human behavior, right? Like, oh, the show that everyone likes is literally just a guy getting kicked in the balls, and when you try to make an intelligent argument, you get made fun of. Like, there's obviously like
true that happened here today.
Exactly. There you go. So obviously, there's messages there. There's meaning there behind these jokes to some extent. PC for $5 says, "Is this just quote funny movie good? No, unfunny movie bad." I mean, I thought some of the jokes were funny in it.
Look, would have been way funnier if America Ferrera gave her speech and everyone was like, "That's stupid."
Yeah,
that's fucking lame.
Like, what are you talking about?
Get the fuck out of here, you moron!
Put up the Norman Rockwell painting, okay? Because I need to give a hot take. Okay, the point of comedy is to make people laugh. So yes, laugh good, not laugh bad. Unironically, Giga Chad. Yes, that is the point.
But comedy is about surprise and just spouting off woke feminist ideology is not surprising at all. It's very unsurprising. That's why it's not funny.
Well, it didn't do that. So
it did. America Ferrera did. Look, to the point where I was actually imagining
you fucking people will seriously be like, well, there's like 2 scenes in the movie that agree with me. There's the America Ferrera speech, and there's that her sitting on the park bench. So we're just gonna ignore the whole rest of the movie. Like, what the fuck?
What do you mean? I'm not ignoring the rest of the movie.
That's how I'm gonna have the conversation. I'm gonna ignore all the things that say I'm wrong and just focus on the thing that say I'm right. Yes.
Well, the whole movie says
very intelligent.
I know.
Right, though.
That's true. That is true. Akilin Naryasawami for $20. Thank you so much. So I agree with Doomer that the movie is supposed to be a comedy movie, but then he uses that to excuse all the poor plot points. Finding the bad story funny doesn't make it not bad. Messages don't make sense It's a comedy movie.
Okay, first of all, again, yes, Giga Chad, yes. If you are taking an absurd comedy that is clearly thwarting causality on purpose, and then you get fucking butthurt that the causality doesn't make sense, the problem is your media analysis, not the film. Yes, Giga Chad, yes.
I don't think the movie was playing. It wasn't really like it wasn't playing with the concept of causality.
Oh my God.
Where was the movie like parroting the causality in the movie?
It's not taking causality seriously for the entire film.
Like how?
They get from Barbie Land to the real world through a series of fucking rocket ship, and then they get.
I don't know what you mean by causality. Then
I'm talking about like whether or not things make sense and flow naturally from one another. Of course, that doesn't happen.
That doesn't undermine causality. Just because it's a wacky causality doesn't mean it's undermining causality.
Them going from the real world to the Barbie world still had to follow a specific set of
causality.
rules. Yeah. They had to go on a roller skates, or no, they go like on a car, to a boat, to a bicycle, to a camper, to roller skates, and then they had to do it in reverse. Like, so that was following the rules of the universe.
Okay.
Do we do PC already? Or do we miss PC's super chat? It's just funny movie good. No, unfunny movie bad.
No, yeah, we did that one.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zoomer. You want to respond?
Wait, to what?
Don't worry about it.
Doug for $5 says, Doomer, why does Barbie, quote, have to make a Pinocchio-like choice about becoming human? For what reason?
Yeah, that's not in the movie.
Yes, oh my fucking God. Look, I'm sorry you don't remember the fucking movie. But yes, it is. She's not happy in Barbie Land anymore. She can't return to the way things are. And then she talks to Ruth. That's the plot of the film.
Know
I'm sorry you don't
There is nothing in the real world that made her happy.
That's also a good point, yeah.
Oh my God.
If something happened in the real world that she had some sort of connection to, that she'd be like, oh, this is missing from my life.
You're wrong. She saw that old lady on a park bench and was very happy about it.
That's such headcanon. That's so headcanon.
I know. I'm teasing you.
You guys are putting the weirdest fucking burdens on the film.
Look, if she met, it should have
been directed by Martin Scorsese. What the fuck?
If she met a person in the real world and had some sort of connection.
Wait, it's not even about being happy. What does that being happy have to do with anything?
You're the one that brought happy up as the motivation for her leaving.
She doesn't belong in Barbie world anymore.
Why?
Because, oh my God.
What is in the movie that makes you believe that?
Why? The entire plot of the film. Why does she leave Barbie Land in the first place?
Because she has a problem. She basically leaves Barbie world because she has the equivalent of some sort of medical problem. She has a problem with her feet. She has to leave the world to fix her feet.
That is one of
she has to leave the world to fix her cellulite.
Okay, and does leaving the world and does leaving Barbie Land fix that problem?
No.
Okay, why?
Well, hold on. The movie doesn't really settle that. It doesn't settle whether it fixes the cellulite or the feet at all. That is kind of just that's an unfinished plot line.
It's not unfinished.
At no point in the movie do you look down and go, "Oh, look, her feet are fixed."
She can't go back to the way things were. Everything, the world is restored to exactly the way that it was, and it doesn't fix things. And things don't go back to the way they were, and then Ruth appears, and they have the conversation. When you take that along with the very obvious themes that you guys agreed with, that Barbie very clearly has these thematic elements about growing up, it's the most obvious shit in the fucking world. It's about accepting the world, flaws and all, deciding to grow up.
You can't look at the scenes with Ruth and say it's remotely obvious. Like she doesn't
blatantly obvious.
She tells her, look, she's not pitching her good things that happen in the real world that will make her.
It's a mother talking to a daughter figure about the pains of the world and about how it's worth being in the world anyway.
She doesn't make any sort of pitches on why it's worth. She doesn't try to persuade her in any way, shape, or form.
She says. So to be fair, she tries to say that being in the real world means you get to choose your destiny. You're not stuck in being pigeonholed to be stereotypical Barbie or President Barbie or whatever.
Wouldn't it be great if that was a payoff and there was a setup about how Barbie really
wanted something grander than
this entire fucking conversation?
Wanted was like had some existential threat about whether or not she actually had free will and wanted free will. So there were like setups. So when that actually happens, she has a payoff. Oh, really? I can have free will, the thing that I've always desired in the real world.
100%,
I think that would make it crystal clear that her motivation for going to the real world would be, I want to make choices. Right. None of that is in the movie, though. At some point in the movie, yeah. None of that is in the movie. You're Doomer. One of the problems is you're just completely making excuses for the movie because you liked it stylistically. Look, I liked it stylistically. I thought there were many funny jokes that I laughed at.
I'm not making excuses for the movie.
You totally
I have on several occasions admitted that things about the movie are obviously bad. But I'm sorry, Adam, you don't remember this scene. You're objectively wrong. You need to watch the movie again. You are incorrect about the sequence of events.
Well, what in the scene where she's talking to Ruth?
I don't want to say it for a fifth fucking time.
No. It's not a question of what she said in the scene. The question is something should have happened to put her on that path to that scene before the scene, right?
I don't think that's necessary.
Okay, well, I guess we just have a complete disagreement about how these stories should be structured.
Her motive, look,
stories shouldn't have to be structured any particular way. Again, how the fuck do you keep telling me, oh, it's not experimental at all, and then you keep getting fucking butthurt about the things the film does that are weird?
Well, because I think it's bad. I don't think it's experimental. Okay. I don't think it was intentionally done to move away from standard story structure.
Yeah, you're describing it as an art film, which I describe 99% of all art films as just bad movies.
Right.
Well, it's not that it's an art film. It's that it's doing things in an atypical way to accomplish its goals, and it succeeds.
No, it doesn't succeed. That's where the rub is.
Okay, Adam, the fun thing is, you are objectively wrong. You are one of the few people who don't like it. It is a massive fucking hit. One of the biggest hits of the year. Almost everyone loves the movie. It 100% is accomplishing its goal. Okay, I understand. You might prefer if the movie was built differently, but saying the movie is a failure is objectively wrong. That's not true.
Built differently. Isn't one of the highest grossing movies like one of the Transformers movies?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't think
that movie's awful.
Okay, I don't think that like the popularity speaks to like, the structure of it.
Yeah, he is making a giant appeal to popularity. Yeah. When Doomer, you understand filmmaking, which is the problem here.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Okay, yes. You made an appeal to popularity. You said it didn't work. It did work. Again, it's a question of popularity. Okay, and by the way, stop. And by the way, the Transformers films do accomplish what they're trying to do. The people who want to go see robots stop. The people who want to see robots punch each other and fart enjoy those movies.
Okay, you're moving the goal. Look, hold on.
I'm not moving my goalposts.
Wait.
It's not moving the goalposts.
Wait. You are moving the goalpost because I am saying that it doesn't accomplish its goal from a screenwriting perspective because there's no setup that the motivation is completely clear for anybody. And then you're moving the goalpost to, well, it was successful financially, so therefore it doesn't have to live up to clear motivations for the characters.
This fucking thing keeps happening where
Why do you keep interrupting? Stop. Look, just take a breath, okay? Just chill one at a time. We can talk one at a time.
Can I build the bridge here?
No bridge building.
No, let me build the bridge.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Sitch.
I don't think anyone's moving any goalposts, okay? I think it's that we're talking about different things and we're using different metrics. Okay?
No, he's moving the goalpost. No, don't let him off.
This thing keeps fucking happening in this fucking conversation where you're like, well, the movie should be doing this. It should be doing
from
this.
From a screenwriting perspective.
There's no correct way to write a fucking screenplay, Adam. There's nothing that it has to do.
I can't believe Doomers, you've completely changed your position.
I have not changed anything.
I thought we had a conversation.
We did, yes.
Where you agreed that there are objective metrics to what makes stories good or bad.
We did have that conversation.
What? You were misremembering that conversation. I don't know what I said, but
Adam remembers it. I remember having this conversation with you on stream. I thought about because you were saying because I remember you saying something like there's a reason that everyone when they like certain moments in movies they all like the same moments or they find the same jokes funny. That's obviously there's a level of objectiveness to storytelling. What makes storytelling good?
Yes, understanding characters' motivations is one of those levels.
If you're to ask me, why do I think people will I think this movie will be very successful, and I do think it'll be very popular. Ben Shapiro said he thought it was going to like drop off the first week. I don't think that's true at all. I think the primary reason this movie will do very well is for two reasons. One, all the fucking horrible woke feminist pandering will appeal to a lot of people. Number one, but number two, this movie is filled to the brim.
Let him finish.
Filled to the brim with, in my opinion, undeserved emotional moments between mothers and daughters. That when the mothers take their daughters to see this movie, they'll hug their daughter close and cry, and they'll feel like they felt something and learned something. Okay. Now, from my perspective, I felt that those moments were undeserved, but a lot of people could still just see the scene play out before them and still feel that emotion. They're not wrong for that. That's what will happen, and I think that's why people will like the movie, and because it's silly and fun. Okay?
I agree. Yeah. So I recommended it for those reasons, even though I think the plot was fucking, had huge plot holes and shit motivations and really missed the mark on what it could have been. Did Doomer leave?
No, he's still
hilarious.
Anyway, where are we? Dusty Shaws for $10 says, I pledge these $10 to the cause of kicking dollar store Vosh extra large out of here. Ouch.
Wow.
Hurtful.
It's pretty rude.
It is very rude. Josh K for 10 months says, this is just the video games don't have good stories. I never said that I just don't enjoy them. Over again argument. I never actually heard that argument, but
I heard it, but I don't remember it.
Oh, I remember it.
Hentai OG Taitoku 310 for $15. Thank you. Says, sure, comedy film, but the movie doesn't understand what it wants to be or say. It just says nothing. S-Class is the best class. And A-Team is Ken enough.
I love it.
Hold on a second. Because I have to address chat because everyone is saying a bunch of really fucking stupid shit. Okay.
Okay.
I evaluate films against the goals the films are going for. If a film is trying to be a silly comedy, I will compare it to other silly comedies. I'm not going to compare it to fucking Vertigo. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. When artists are trying to do something, they don't do things randomly. They have goals, and those goals are usually exemplified in lots of different ways. For example, genres. People like certain genres because they like certain emotional experiences, certain tones, and certain kinds of films because it's going for a particular thing. I'm evaluating the films based on how well they accomplish that goal. In the case of Barbie, it accomplishes that goal very well. Does that mean that it's fucking Vertigo? No. Again, it's a silly comedy. Evaluated against other silly comedies, it's pretty good. Evaluated against other silly comedies, it's pretty fucking experimental. You compare this film to The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and again, we keep talking about things the film does differently. And then you're like, why would you call it experimental? You keep fucking complaining about the stuff the film does that's atypical, that breaks the standard structure. That's why I'm saying experimental, because it's constantly fucking doing things that are different, okay? And it's very, very good at accomplishing its goal. The fucking theater was losing their shit laughing. It's a very funny movie. Again, does that mean it's a serious art piece? No. But there's nothing wrong with a movie accomplishing a goal that you don't particularly enjoy. Transformers is the perfect example because Transformers are stupid, bad movies where people go to watch robots hit each other in the face and fart. And there is nothing wrong with that. Okay? The Transformers movies perfectly accomplished their goal. And if you don't like that, again, it's fine to say the Transformers movies are bad, but they are effective. They are. Their audience likes them. They get what they paid for.
Doomer, I don't mind any of that. But the criticism that Sitch and I are both levying have to do with character and motivation and consistency and setup and payoff. And so and none of what you're saying I disagree with. But when you come in here and say that we're wrong because those character motivations are in the movie, but can't point to exactly where they are, you're just kind of like, well, they were in there.
Adam, I did point to where they are. You deny that it exists because you don't remember the movie. Okay.
Well, see, now you're claiming that I don't remember the movie.
I don't want to.
I said that like 5 times.
I don't want to loop every time. I don't want to loop the same arguments like 20 times. We obviously just don't agree. I think when it comes to the experimental thing, the disconnect between us is that you believe that these choices were intentional and thus experimental, where I and looks like Adam as well do not think they were intentional and thus give the faults to just accidental shitty writing.
It's so obviously not trying to be a typical movie. I don't know how you can hold that position. There's so many things in the movie that are just weird and purposefully different.
Stylistically, not story-wise. We keep separating those two out.
Barbie was designed this way stylistically. Okay, just like
even in terms of story, it's not what. Like
Barbie's a funnier character than we're used to. Okay.
Like.
Solo for $2 says it's not for you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that's so good.
Accurate. Barbie is the key to all this. True. Actually, Ken is the key to all this.
Ken is amazing.
Yes. Reralt of Givia for $2 says, unrelated, Doomer, did you like The Last Jedi?
I have not seen it.
What?
I don't watch cape shit. I don't watch Star Wars. No. Well, I saw TFA.
Okay. You've seen the original, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen Safety Not Guaranteed?
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I don't know what that is. Thoth Apprentice for 5 months. Hey, Thoth. Says Sitch, the philosophy of never improving yourself is that of the chaos god Nurgle, lord of entropy, rot, and decay. Remember, Grandpa Nurgle loves you.
Wow.
So Nurgle's a feminist. Poopa for 20 euros. Thank you. Says you're forgetting that joke structure and all cinematic tools arise from subtext, intentions, and themes. Being serious or not is only one aspect to it that doesn't remove the theme and or intention.
True. It's so funny watching a bunch of fucking brainlets in chat who think they're fucking geniuses for watching goddamn Marvel movies sit here and tell me that I don't know anything about fucking analyzing films, that I haven't seen shit. It is fucking hilarious.
It seems that you've changed your position. I mean, I noticed that.
Adam, I wrote a book on this over 10 years ago. I have not changed my position. Maybe you have a different understanding of it. I assure you, I have not changed my position.
Look, you believe that there are objective metrics to storytelling.
I absolutely never said it. I despise the word objective. I use it as a joke. I never use that word seriously.
Well,
there's not objective. The words objective.
The context of the conversation. Hold on. Let me see if I can remember the context of the conversation. I think it went something to the effect of, you were like, there are certain things that will happen in a movie that will give the majority of the audience a certain feeling, and that you can measure that feeling the audience will have objectively.
Well, that's not objective. I mean, yes, like movies have a goal.
It is objective. It's an emergent property of a movie, but it is totally objective. Like the box office of a movie is objective.
Movies have goals, and very obviously, some movies are far more effective at accomplishing those goals than others. And I'll go further on this than most people. You know, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, comedy is so subjective." Not really. Not really. You know, if a movie is pretty unfunny, almost everybody will agree with that. You know, and it's like, when movies are very, very, high on the comedic end, very, very funny, you can find people who don't like them, but not that many. Like, comedy's not as subjective as people think. If the goal is to make people laugh, there are reliable ways to do that. But that doesn't mean that there is an objective, like prescriptive, correct way to make films.
Obviously.
So I guess we're just kind of talking past each other. Because we did have this conversation. I guess you just don't like the word objective. Where when we're saying that, yes, like not everything is subjective. There are specific things that make specific groups of people laugh, and you can make broader jokes that will make broader audiences laugh. Yes,
right.
Of course.
Well,
and if you have a movie that's like one movie has conflict and another movie has no conflict at all, you can say one will likely be far more appealing to audiences than the other.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, now I pretty much don't have a choice. I have to give a whole rant because there's no other way to address this.
No. About what?
About objectivity and subjectivity.
No, okay.
We don't look. Yeah.
Listen, I'll just say this. If we look at the poll, Doomer, 88% of the people have not seen this movie. Okay? So don't let them get you down. They just like me more than you. So they agree with me. Okay.
First of all, Tony Giffen chat, don't talk to me about Blake Snyder. Okay. I exchanged emails with him 21 years ago. I understand these things. I read these books before you people were fucking born.
Well, this is what surprises
Don't talk to me about Sid Fields.
Look, this is what surprises me when I say that Barbie's motivation at the end of the movie is completely unclear, and you say, no, it is completely clear, but you point to scenes that it's just kind of subjective whether or not she meant that.
I'm not saying it's 100% clear. I'm rejecting this idea you have that the movie has to be structured a certain way and that the movie has to plant a flag and make this completely obvious in the way that you want it to be. I think that it is clear enough. It accomplishes what it's trying to do. I don't like this idea that it's like, oh, well, we should have had a whole plot line establishing how, Barbie wants this, like the Pinocchio thing should start in the very beginning where she wants free will, but she doesn't have it. And then she discovers it in the real world. And then Ruth, like, I reject that. It's fine the way it is, where like she escapes the real world and like she comes back and then she's not able to return. There's like the Joseph Campbell beat where she returns, but she's changed and now she can't enjoy Barbie Land. And then Ruth shows up. They talk about this in the movie's result. That's fine. It works for me.
Okay. It didn't work for me or Adam in that respect. So
yeah,
we don't have to argue in circles again. Zero for 4 months says, if you haven't watched it yet, you should definitely watch the new Indiana Jones. I unironically loved it. I was very amused by just how bad it was. Wow. I didn't watch it. I watched Red Letter Media's review of it, including the spoiler of the ending, which is hilariously, unironically just so garbagely stupid. It's funny. But I'm probably not going to see the movie. I'll probably, when it comes on streaming, I'll just watch the last 5 minutes just to see that one scene.
Just see how bad it is.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it. But, huh?
What scene?
The last scene in Indiana Jones. The new one.
Oh God. I don't even know anything about that movie.
Oh, they talk, if you're curious, the Red Letter Media, they go over it and it sounds hilarious. So.
Oh God. Why that they spent $300 million on that movie. Like, what the fuck?
That is shocking.
It is shocking.
I don't understand who wants to see like old man Harrison Ford trying to be Indiana Jones at this age, or like if they really want to do Indiana Jones again, in my opinion, they should have done it
Cast a young actor.
Well, no, you want to have Harrison Ford be in it still, right? Have it instead of it being like a classic Indiana Jones movie, which is not going to work with someone that age. You have to change up the formula. You make it more like a Dan Brown thing, where he actually has to use his knowledge of archaeology to solve some kind of mystery that doesn't require him like going in car chases and punching Nazis, right?
Isn't he like 80? Does he have a walker?
Yeah, he's like 80. You can't have him being Indiana Jones anymore, okay?
I think they should just cast a young actor and start over, because people would be into that. They'd be like, oh, now our guy is indie. Some young actor that everyone likes from some other indie movie.
I don't think anyone cares about the property enough to do that. Like, would a reboot of Indiana Jones really get that much attention?
Yeah, well, I think, obviously parents would take their kids and it could spark a whole another generation. Right?
Well, would it be the same time period, or would they like move up the time period?
Move up the time period.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's enough brand strength they could make it work, but like the problem is right now the word on the street is that these movies are terrible, and like you got to get over that somehow.
Do it a prequel. Do it with a young actor playing Indiana Jones' dad. So it's like Sean Connery, but as young.
No prequels.
You don't like prequels?
I'm so fucking sick of prequels. You need to stop with all prequel nonsense.
Okay.
Please.
We'll do it in...
You can do a reboot, but instead of it, what year is the first Indiana Jones supposed to take place in, right?
I don't. I could care less if you do it in 20.
Like the 30s or 40s or something.
If you're gonna do a reboot, then just fucking have different stories. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Reboot, but you could do a reboot, but it takes place in like the 70s or 80s or something, right?
Yeah.
Like you still want to be a little bit in the past, but
could be 80s.
Instead of fighting in real Nazis, he's fighting Twitter Nazis.
True, based.
Yeah.
Dude, you could do Barbie, and then like you could just round up all the people like Sitch and Adam that are just getting butthurt about Barbie. Have Indiana Jones fight them.
What's going on in archaeology though in the 80s? Is he like working for Wall Street or something?
Who knows? I mean, I think I'm against the whole concept anyway. I think they should let Indiana Jones die. I don't think it's gonna work anymore. But
I don't know. It could be interesting.
I have a negative interest in seeing that movie. Like,
me too.
If you were like, hey, you can watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and I'll pay you $20, I think I would say no.
I would definitely say no.
I don't know that it's worth $20 to go sit through that.
No, it's not. Landorf brings up a good point, because like Indiana Jones is supposed to specifically be based off of a 1930s serial, and I don't think that formula has any appeal in today's world anymore. So you have to completely reinvent the thing to do something different with it.
Yeah.
Grendel Vivats for $10 says, I know how to resolve this. We have Sitch and Doomer go see Barbie 2, maybe 3 more times, then release multi-hour video essays and the chat votes for the best one. There you go.
I'm game for that. You guys down?
I always say I'm going to work on a script, and I never do. But I do feel motivational energy to do a Barbie script.
Was this helpful? I feel like...
Let me be sure to hide your channel so I don't have to be subjected to a fucking 2-hour video essay about your takes on Barbie.
It's not going to be 2 hours.
It is not that serious. Barbie is... Barbie isn't like my favorite movie of all time. It's an entertaining, silly movie.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's not worth like a video.
Why are you simping so hard for it then?
It's kind of interesting. It's very difficult to talk about comedy in particular. Yeah. It's like I had this problem when I was talking about when I did my 10 best YouTube videos. Like some of them I just like them because they're funny, and it's like, what am I going to say? Like, do I just do the jokes? Like,
yeah,
it's hard to do an analysis of comedy.
Right. I got you.
Do you think Your Highness has feminist themes?
I have not seen Your Highness.
Oh. No, it's like got like anti-feminist.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I brought it up.
Right. Especially when he puts the Minotaur's dick on her head. It's very anti-feminist.
They literally have pedo jokes in there.
They do. They do.
I don't know that you could make Your Highness today. No. When did that movie come out? Like 2013 or something?
Like earlier, like 2008, 2007 probably.
Everyone would be like on Twitter talking about how they were fucking molested by some pedo and how the movie just completely triggered them, and there was no trigger warning.
Yep.
Okay, Chad, I'm calling your bluff. If it's so easy to do an analysis of comedy, then you go make a fucking video about analyzing comedy. Okay?
2011.
Prove me wrong.
Why are you letting Chat get under your skin, Doomer? Don't let him. Come on.
It's not getting on my skin. It's just funny.
Your Highness is 2011. It's You're right, Sitch.
2011.
It's like giving a speech in a middle school and everyone's like getting upset at the things that you're saying. It's just cute.
You are saying some pretty messed up things, though. I mean,
like what?
Well, it's obvious Barbie's motivation is unclear.
Okay, we're not rehashing arguments.
You don't want to. I mean, I don't want to accept it.
I don't think Encanto is woke or anti-woke. I don't think it has anything to do. The message of Encanto, I didn't perceive through that political lens at all. So, I mean, I didn't really like Encanto, but it had nothing to do with politics.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.